release their rebuttal, whatever that is. I don't know how you can rebut a lie, but that's what they're trying to do. Joining us now to sort this out, Congressman from the 7th District, Republican. 7th District is the Central Virginia area. And joining us now, Congressman Dave Brat. Dr. Brat, good to have you.
Hey, morning, John. Thanks for having me on.
So let me ask you this, straight up. So you read this memo, and I know everybody's saying, oh, the president shouldn't have released it. Nunes shouldn't have released it. Nunes is friends with the president. And the Democrat memo should be released, and they have their spin. Let me just ask you something straight out. Either the U.S. government officials lied to the FISA court judge or they didn't. They either presented false information without telling the judge what it is or they didn't. Now, if they presented the dossier and they said, here's a dossier that was done, paid for by, first started by Republicans through the Washington Free Beacon to stop Trump from being the nominee, then paid for by Debbie Wasserman Schultz of the DNC, then paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. We have found that Intel is unable to corroborate any of it. In fact, we kind of know it's a lie, but we'd like to present this to you so that you can go ahead and get a warrant on these people because they're bad people, including the president. But, you know, it's not really accurate, but it's all we got. Plus, we got this media report here because we leaked it to them. So it's kind of a circle jerk. But would you sign this anyway? And the judge signed it. I got no problem with it other than that judge's bad judgment. But either they presented the information honestly or they lied. I don't know what other information you could possibly ask. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think if the mainstream media, right, they're going to come back in full force. They already are. You know, and I was on NPR yesterday on Sunday morning on a show, and they just led me right down the Democrat talking points. You know, NPR, CNN, also. That's what. But the major proof that you have, right, on what really happened is that 5 people so far that I know of, could be more, but Comey's been fired, and then these are all political appointees, by the way. I'm not bad-mouthing the men and women who work at the FBI, et cetera, right? But the 5 political appointees have either been fired or stepped down or relieved of duties or whatever. And so when the Democrats say, hey, there's nothing going on here, really? 5 senior people who ran the Hillary investigation, by the way, are the same people who are trying to get Trump here. And we have text messages and emails on top of it. And so what Judge Janine just said, it goes by quick. There's so many elements to this. But for me, the most important part of this thing, in terms of capturing the way D.C. and the swamp and bureaucrats, the elitist bureaucrats work up there, is a calculation of who's going to win. And so they thought, and the whole country thought, that Hillary was going to win. So then what do? You ingratiate yourself to power. The exact opposite of what the FBI and our intelligence services are supposed to do. And so you got Comey leaking information, and the other folks are saying, hey, Hillary's going to win. We need an insurance policy just in case she doesn't. But for me, those are the most striking comments that just showed the nature of what's going on up there. And so if the Democrats want to come back, right, they're saying, we told the judge, we didn't lie. We said this is a political nature because they used the term political nature, right? And so they don't say Hillary paid for it, and they don't say the Democrat Party paid for it. They say it has a political dimension. So I guess that's what's in their talking point. And then they say, well, you're off to the wrong thing because the dossier you're talking about, that wasn't the lead piece, right? The first piece was Papadopoulos, so that's their second talking point. Okay, good. If Papadopoulos is the first point, is that a big enough point to get you a FISA warrant to spy on an American citizen and to violate their Fourth Amendment rights, right? Is the Papadopoulos information, right, significant enough to go there? No, it's not. And so, I mean, you just got to go. And then the American people are catching on, right? This wasn't just a President Trump phenomenon. Bernie was leading and had all the momentum on the Democrat side until what happened there. The system was rigged. And Donna Brazile, the head of the Democrat Party, is the one who said the Democrats rigged it. So you don't get too much better information about what's going on up there, right? The guy who's going to clean the swamp on the left gets replaced by the person who's going to maintain the status quo, and all the money and all the power figures stay with that person on that side. And then President Trump comes in, thank goodness, and wins the day. And his promise is, I'm going to clean the swamp. And so that's what you're seeing, right? Everybody's seeing right now these major institutions and the elites at the top have been playing total politics. So I think the best thing we can do is, let's keep this story going for as long as we can. Let the Democrats give their information, because that'll lead us down a million more paths and clues as to they're the ones that brought up the Russian investigation, and that's how all of this other information we're pursuing now has come about. So let them keep going, because we'll just follow the truth, and the truth always wins. You
want the Democratic memo, the spin memo, released, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's get that out there. Let's stop that.
Into more pretzels than you can imagine.
I mean, because the bottom line is either the judge, and we think it's Contreras, but I want to tell our audience we don't know who the FISA court judge is, all right? It's a secret judge, and it's secret for a reason. There's conjecture that it's Judge Contreras, but no one knows for sure. So the judge signed this warrant, okay, which we have to assume the judge took very seriously in signing a warrant against a presidential candidate in the general election. We would have to think he didn't take this lightly. So if you look at the Democrats' spin, what they're basically saying is, well, the judges thought there was enough information based on very little. Okay, well, then that would be a suspect decision by the judge. That's a separate story. But it doesn't appear that way. It appears the judge at the FISA court, Congressman, was provided with information that he's got to rely on senior government officials not to be lying to him or her, right?
Yeah, no, that's the crux of it. And so it really does look, based on all the evidence, right, the emails and the text messages from the folks at the high end of the FBI. I mean, they were saying this outright. And so that is true. And you're right. You have to assume, even in D.C., you have to assume a minimal set of truth claims are going to be provided to the judges, et cetera. But when it comes to President Trump or then candidate Trump, all bets are off, right? The media has flipped out since he ran in the primaries and through the general. And so and everybody knows, right? The mainstream media, 90% of their donations go to Hillary Clinton, et cetera. And the elites in D.C., I do get a kick out of this, right? I mean, they're saying, well, the PBS, in the interview, they say, well, this is all President Trump's bureaucracy, too. Well, everybody knows how hard it is to get a working Republican bureaucracy up in D.C., right? I mean, it's tens of thousands of people you have to hire. And the Republicans are usually back in the private sector working away. So it's very hard to change those institutions overnight. But yeah, at the end of the day, what you're saying is right on point. That information fed to the FISA judge, and so let's see the FISA documents, and that'll be the next stage, right? That'll be phase 2, and let's go down there. And by the way, the Democrats also said in their document that's coming out that the reason that we couldn't launch our document is because it contained all sorts of sources and procedure and top secret information. They said that all over the news. The mainstream media totally backed up those claims, and there was zero information related to national security claims in those documents. And so the game is on, and unfortunately, it's a tragic game dealing with the truth, and the left and the mainstream media is not dealing in the truth right now, and the country is seeing that, and so it is a sad day.
Are we ever going to find out who the government, I'd assume high-ranking government officials are, that went to the judge at the FISA court presenting what they knew was false information to them, lying to the judge, basically, and not admitting that it was a fake dossier, it was a phony scam, and U.S. Intel had already said it was not true. They hadn't corroborated anything. So they had to have lied to this judge. I mean, are we ever going to find out who these people are? Because that's a pretty serious charge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we are, and that's why I want this investigation to go on. And it is notable, right? All the information that we on the Republican side would like leaked out isn't being leaked out because our side fights like Cub Scouts, and we actually try to follow the rule of law. But when it comes to the other side, Comey is leaking information via one of his best friends in order to set up the special counsel against President Trump. So this is the highest person in the FBI, right, leaking information, and he acknowledges himself it's in order to get the Mueller investigation going. And so, any thinking person, I hope this also helps to educate the American people about how important these institutions are and the immense amount of power, right? We have given institutions the power to spy on you without your knowing it and to see everything about your life and to take action based on that if it calls for that next step. And the American people, right, we've been going through this warrant. We just went through the international counterintelligence stuff with the 702 stuff. We had a big debate. I voted no on that. Mm-hmm. I was in the vast minority of people voting no on that because I wanted to have a very high bar on what it takes to get a warrant to spy on American citizens, even when they're going after international terrorists. And we didn't meet that bar. And so this is a huge issue. The American people, I think, are learning a lot more than they ever thought they would about these top secret documents and FISA courts and warrants to spy on American citizens. And that's a good thing.
So this is really incredible to me. And again, the Democrats are squawking about their memo not being released, and this is designed to trash the Mueller investigation, which really the point now, Congressman, I don't care what they do with that. The guy's not going to find anything that matters, so they can investigate in perpetuity. There was no collusion. There's no evidence. But the fact that the Democrats don't even want to get to the truth, I mean, that's what is amazing to me. Like, I would think there would be one Democrat statesman who would say, you know what, before we go off on all this hyperbole, shouldn't we find out if this judge was lied to or not by somebody? Because that's a pretty serious charge. And that's really what I want to know. Because this could happen to anybody, right? It could happen to you or me. I was in Trump Tower with the campaign. Maybe I was surveilled. I have no idea, right? Any of us, it could have been anybody. Really is amazing that the Democrats will not ask the question whether or not was in the memo is true or not, because that should concern everybody. Republican Congressman, 7th District, Dr. Dave Brat, that's the Central Virginia area. He's up for re-election to a third term in November of 2018. So, Congressman, where do we go from here with this?
Well, just in response to your last remark about the Democrat statesman, you saw in the State of the Union the team ball. You've never seen anything like that, right? You had Democrats looking at each other when they were sitting on their hands and wouldn't applaud for anything. And Senator Manchin from West Virginia, who's known to be a good guy and a bipartisan player, they had a famous clip of him starting to stand up, and then he looked around and no one else was standing up. He's going, "Come on, guys, you got to be kidding me, right?" African American, Hispanic unemployment, it is at all-time lows. The economy's roaring. They said this is a nation under God, and the Democrats wouldn't stand for that one. They went over veterans. They went over everything. And so that gives you all the indication you need to see. And then on the DACA debate, right, the Democrats said we need a DACA fix at the beginning of the year. And we're not going to do anything without a DACA fix. Well, the Goodlatte bill has a DACA fix in it in exchange for some of the Republican priorities. So we gave them the DACA fix they wanted, and they're a no. Then President Trump comes out and triples or quadruples the DACA fix in the Democrat favor, and way more than they asked for, way more than the Obama amnesty. And the Democrat position is no. And so their main concern, the welfare of the DACA kids, is being eclipsed by politics, and it's clear for everyone to see what's going on. And so what comes next is we just keep pursuing oversight. And, one of the issues that comes up also is the FBI and CIA and our court system. And we've given them a huge latitude and reverence over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But this set of incidences and the evidence brought to bear is showing something very interesting. They are not a co-equal branch of government.
Right.
They work under the executive branch. The executive is the boss, and they all work under the Congress and our oversight as well.
Mm-hmm.
And why is that important? Because we work for the people. I'm not a boss. I am the servant of the people in pursuit of justice. And that needs to be very clear here. These folks are given latitude by their elected representatives via the people. And now the people are finding out what's going on. And so this degree of reverence that we've given these institutions has been abused in this case, and we need to see if it's more far-reaching than what we found so far, and I'm afraid it is.
Well, I think that's what everybody's fear is that it is. And, the Democrats they always say they want transparency, they want to get to the truth, they want to know what's going on. And now they're stonewalling everything and blackballing basically this memo, which is just a regurgitation of what actually happened. It's just releasing the facts to the American public. The Democrats don't want the facts. It is pretty stark what is going on here. We're almost out of time.
And just on that point,
Go ahead.
Stephanopoulos yesterday on the Sunday show said, well, why didn't you ask the head of the FBI in? Why didn't you question him on that? And the Republican said, we did, Will Hurd from Texas, who's on intelligence. He said, we did. So the mainstream, they have been stonewalling, right? The FBI wouldn't give us these documents for a year. And so all of these little facts make a difference in the narrative that the mainstream media is trying to spin a tale. We bent over backwards to try to get all this information out in the public realm, and they stonewalled us at every turn.
All right, it's going to be the final word, Stonewall. Dave Brat, trying to get the truth out. More information, go to davebrat.com, davebrat.com.